Welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Stephen Einstein. Thank y'all for joining me again today as we go through and we do today's daily reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. It's been a good couple of days. I'm looking forward to it. This will, of course, be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning that this will be the first time that I hear or read the meditation right on this podcast with you. Excuse me there. And you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading. And it's really been a good opening to September. I liked yesterday's quite a bit. The direct and only way to greater strength is to assail and conquer weakness. And the line it opened with, though, was really, really great. Without strength of mind, nothing worthy of accomplishment can be done, because it requires dedication. It requires authenticity. It requires a lot of really positive things to do this stuff, and so strength of mind is a crucial element to that. So I really enjoyed that. So let's see what today brings us. Okay. So this is September 9th reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. In the training of the will, the first step is the breaking down or breaking away from bad habits. He who has succeeded in grasping this simple preliminary truth will perceive that the whole science of will cultivation is embodied in the following 7 rules. Oh, this is great. I love it when we get rules. Sorry. 1. Break off bad habits. 2. Form good habits. 3. Give scrupulous attention to the duty of the present moment. 4. Do vigorously and at once whatever has to be done. 5. Live by rule. 6. Control the tongue. 7. Control the mind. Love that. Anyone who earnestly meditates upon and diligently practices the above rules will not fail to develop that purity of purpose and power of will which will enable him to successfully cope with every difficulty and pass triumphantly through every emergency. Now, this is great. I love it when he gives us steps to do. I love it when he gives us actions to take, progress to make. This isn't theoretical. This isn't a meditation on generalities or perspectives so broad you can't necessarily see the steps to go through to accomplish it, right? But this is what I talk about all the time. This is there's a lot that goes into every single one of these, right? This isn't, well, it can be. Well, for most people, including myself, it's not as simple as just doing them. It takes work. Some people can just have a change of perspective and everything is done. Like, it blows my mind when you come across someone like that. When they just like, oh, I'm not doing that anymore. Drop a habit like that. It's been it's not been my experience with habits. I'll tell you that right now. It's been a journey of self-exploration and understanding to get rid of some habits, which is a lot of origination in the mind for me. So let's go ahead and we'll go through this one by one, right? So it opens up here. In the training of the will, the first step is the breaking away from bad habits. And I mean, this is what 12-step programs are all about. This is what I talk about all the time, is you have to stop the bad habits first. You have to stop the actual actions, stop the deeds. Okay? Because if you don't, you're never going to give yourself the actual opportunity to change permanently. And like, you have to stop drinking. You have to stop using drugs. You have to stop gambling to actually quit gambling, right? As rudimentary as that might seem, it's the truth. No amount of work on the back end is going to change the habit on the front end. It takes some self control, some willingness to do it different, step away from the bad habits so you can actually change the mind, right? But there's so much to it, but that is the first step in breaking away from habits, from bad habits. The first in training the will, the first step is to break away from bad habits. Completely agree with that. Second, he who has succeeded in grasping this simple preliminary truth will perceive that the whole science of will cultivation is embodied in the following 7 rules. Now, and give me a second before we go into the rules, because this sentence is very true and it's got some information we need to look at. He who has succeeded in grasping this simple preliminary truth will perceive that the whole science of will cultivation is embodied in the 7 rules. So if you can grasp this, in the training of the will, the first step is breaking away from bad habits. So to train your will to cultivate character, you have to break away from your bad habits first. So it's knowing what your bad habits are. That's an important thing. That discovery of like, oh, I'm kind of a sarcastic jerk in these situations, or oh, I drink way too much. Oh, I'm a very lustful individual, or I need to kind of quit gambling, right? Or I'm arrogant. I'm a know-it-all. I like self-pity. Like these are character defects, people. These are things, these are the bad habits we talk about. These are the bad habits we need to change. And he calls this, well, and he says the whole science of will cultivation. So there's a science to it. There's a process to it. There's a way to do this, right? So keep that in mind. There's a process to this. So will cultivation is embodied in the following 7 rules. And by the way, I'm just hearing the rain in the background. It's raining where I'm at right now, so please forgive me for that. I hope if anything it makes the meditation go a little bit smoother for you. But so here we go. I'm going to reread the 7 rules, and I'll go through them one by one. Break off bad habits. 2, form good habits. 3, give scrupulous attention to the duty at the present moment. 4, do vigorously and at once whatever has to be done. 5, live by rules. 6, control the tongue. And 7, control the mind. Okay, those are the 7 rules he gives. And break off bad habits, number 1. So we have to stop doing the things that we do that are harming us and harming others. Very important. Break off the bad habits. Be willing to break off the bad habits. Right? You have to decide you want this cultivation of will, this cultivation of character. These are things that you have to actually desire in your life, because that'll give you the willingness to break off from these habits. Because the problem with bad habits is most of the time they serve something for us. They protected us when we were younger. They make us feel powerful. They give us a sense of superiority. They give us a sense of self-pity. They give us a sense of um, helplessness, so we don't have to fulfill our obligations and responsibilities. So there's a lot of things these bad habits serve. So when we go through this, right, we have to be willing to let those positive, or I won't say positive, to let those effects of those bad habits that we perceived as beneficial go. We have to let those go. But this couples best So with that second point, so one, break off bad habits. Two, form good habits. Now, I say it couples with it, and it seems like, okay, yeah, of course, form good habits. Now, why I say it couples with it, why I say it's important is because of this. I think, and I don't know where it's come from. I've heard it in a lot of different places, but the saying, nature abhors a vacuum, meaning you can't just take something out because you'll notice it's gone, right? So when he says break off bad habits, form good habits, this is a replacement process, at least in the beginning, right? You need a replacement to take the time, to take the attention, the energy. You need to have a positive habit to replace these bad ones. And then you can whittle them down and you can change them once you've shaken these bad habits and you've are refining your own will and your own character, right? Like these those the good habits can change, right? Because good habits might not fit with who you are at the end of the day, but you need to start swapping them out. And and that's a physical actual habits, right? Or um values, right? So um I don't I want to quit lying. I don't want to be dishonest. I want to be honest. I don't want to lie. I want to tell the truth. These there's this That's the swap we're talking about. So instead of saying I don't want to lie, instead of saying I don't want to be dishonest, you say I want to be honest. I am honest. I am truthful, right? We don't think in the negative. We think in the positive, where we're working towards. It's important because those things they swap in our minds. Well, what are you going to do here? Be honest instead of just don't lie. That's Then all you're thinking about is lying. Think about being honest. Swap these things. So 1 and 2, very important combo right there. All right, now let's look at 3. 3, give scrupulous attention to the duty of the present moment. Be present with what you're doing. I remember I was at a 12-step meeting once and someone had all this stuff going on in their life and they were working and the person on the phone told them to um oh, oh, well, the guy was mixing concrete at the time that was having all the problems. The guy on the phone told him, he was like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "Mixing concrete. Why?" He said, "Makes the concrete the best you've ever done it before. Focus solely on that." And they'll be amazed when you quit feeding your fears and your insecurities and your resentments, how much they shrink, right? How large these things get blown out of proportion in our minds and how big we build these things up. When if we could just simply pay attention to the present moment, to the actions we're actually taking, and be aware and mindful of these things, this is a good thing for mindfulness practices here. Give scrupulous attention to the duty of the present moment. If we can do that, our problems become a lot more manageable. We get through days at a time. Time passes. We heal. We grow. Be present with whatever you're doing. 4, do vigorously and at once whatever has to be done. Don't put things off. Don't ignore or procrastinate. If you can do it now, do it now. If you can't do it now, figure out what needs to be done so you can do it as soon as possible and do it. We're not talking about manipulating people here. We're not talking about um, stressing ourselves out over it. But if there's something in front of you that should be thrown out, walk over to it and go throw it out. And that's a simple thing. If you're at work, do your work. Don't shirk your responsibilities for half a day saying, I'll do it tomorrow. Do it today. This builds discipline in our lives. And I don't know if you're anything like me. I was a very undisciplined man when I got sober and as I started to live a spiritual way of life. So do vigorously and at once whatever has to be done. That was the 4th step. Now 5, live by rule. live by principle, live by virtue, right? Live by a set of disciplines, live by a set of um, rules. I guess we'll just use the word they use. Live by a set of rules, right? And these are beliefs, these are values, these are virtues. Live by them. Ground yourself in the virtue, ground yourself in the principle, and you'll stand more steadfast and strong and unwavering than you ever thought possible. That's the craziest part about this whole thing. We ground ourselves in virtue and principle and discipline. Suddenly, life goes a whole lot better. So, step 5 was live by rule. 6 and 7, very important ones for many people today, including myself. I'm just going to tie these two together. Control the tongue, control the mind. So control the tongue is 6, control the mind is 7. And those are in that order for a reason, I'm sure. Because when you stop, control the tongue, you see what's pushing the tongue, and when you see that, you change the mind. So you control the mind, control the tongue, control the mind. That order. Your life will change. It's amazing. You'll be able to cultivate the will and the character that you desire, or maybe not that you desire or that you wish to emulate in your ideal, right? I keep bringing up that ideal because it's important to have an ideal or something to strive for, a picture to work towards. Beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. I love these 7 steps. I'll say them, rattle them off real quick. 1, break off bad habits. 2, form good habits. 3, give scrupulous attention to the duty of the present moment. 4, do vigorously and at once whatever has to be done. And 5, live by rule. 6, control the tongue. 7, control the mind. You are responsible for your tongue and your mind. Remember that. Now, the closing thought, and I know we're running long on this, but I appreciate y'all sticking with me, is anyone who earnestly meditates upon and diligently practices the above rules. So, anybody that really contemplates and mills these over and then puts them into practice, action. We can think about a lot of things, but if we don't take action, it's pointless. The above rules will not fail to develop that purity of purpose and power, which will enable him to successfully cope with every difficulty and pass triumphantly through every emergency. Powerful, powerful stuff here. So if you contemplate this, you put the action behind it, you'll develop the purity of purpose and power. So purity of direction, purity of character, of will, purpose and power of will, which will enable him to successfully cope with every difficulty. Every difficulty. This isn't usual, common. This is every difficulty and pass triumphantly through every emergency. Principle and virtue is what you need to be grounded in, and then you can stand tall through any storm, and you can be at peace through any storm too. That's beautiful, beautiful side effect of practicing these things. And it's something that I've found to be true for myself. And it's something that I incorporate into my own life. And this is beautiful. And it's great, great reading. Something I wholeheartedly, completely agree with. This has been the story of building my character right here in this meditation. So I hope um, this can help others as well. So great, just a stunning reading today. Thank you all for so much for joining me and listening to me as I kind of gush over this one. It's fantastic. So I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow's for sure. So until next time, thanks.